Taking a look at futures this morning, we are seeing a little bit of a down morning this Tuesday. We'll see how markets open. We've got about an hour to go. Dow down 49, NASDAQ down 29 and change, S&P down 6 1/4. President Trump is threatening substantial new tariffs and export restrictions on countries keeping digital taxes in place. The president posting on Truth Social that dozens of nations are using digital service taxes to discriminate against American tech companies like Meta, Alphabet, and Amazon. He says if these taxes and rules are not removed, the U.S. will impose new tariffs and block chip exports. President Trump also pointing to the White House's investment in Intel, signaling it could be just the beginning, calling it one of many more cases to come. Watch.
I want to try and get as much as I can. In the case of Intel, it was interesting, but I hope I'm going to have many more cases like it. Intel came in. I'd like you to give 10% of Intel to the United States of America. Not to me, to the United States of America. I just made $10 billion or $11 billion for the United States of America. And yeah, there will be other cases. If I have that opportunity again, I would do that.
Joining me now is Market Rebellion co-founder Pete Najarian. Pete, your reaction to what you heard, in particular, what do you think of this idea that the U.S. government would have a stake in Intel?
Well, it's all obviously pretty interesting. We've already seen what's going on with AMD and Nvidia as far as that 15% of the revenue with China. It's really interesting how the president has been able to do this and execute with this. And you can see some of the frustration the president has as well. We talk about this all the time, but the tariffs have been absolutely front and center since April. And now we're seeing even more about that whole side of things, where the president has put his feet down and said, look, this is the way it's going to be. It's forceful. It's something that I don't know if everybody expected something like this, but it certainly is interesting to see some of the investment side of this as it goes along, and the dollars that the president has actually brought into the United States. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, obviously, Mitch Rochelle, to bring you into this, I mean, there's a lot happening here, and this is Trump time, this is Trump speed, and the digital service taxes. I mean, the minute I saw that Truth Social post, I thought to myself, he's talking about Europe. Europe has been punishing for decades American technology companies, and he's saying enough.
We're not a manufacturing economy in the United States like we once were. The thing we export is intellectual property and technology. Yeah. And for Europe especially to be taxing with their value-added tax the technology that is bought by consumers and businesses, it's completely unfair. So it makes sense to me that there would be some sort of reciprocity here, and this is what the president's doing. But I guess, Pete, what's the short-term and long-run impact on these big names? Because it's these same technology companies that are driving our market. So what is the risk if, these countries, pile on and retaliate further because the president's retaliating in this tit for tat?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying totally, but I look at it this way. I think that the president has the upper hand. I think he's got the opportunity to be able to do that. And we've seen some of the successes that he's already put together. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was something that was implemented pretty rapidly. I think from the effects standpoint, I don't think it's going to have nearly the kind of effects that we had in the past with some of the scare tactic type things that were going on. I think this is something that can be resolved pretty quickly. So pretty confident about that. And I just keep looking at names like Nvidia and so many others right now that AI has become the biggest thing that we have seen in a really, really long time. And it's absolutely been incredible. I think that's another big piece of this is the president understands how big this really is and what that really means for the economy.
Well, Nvidia is after the bell tomorrow, and the expectation revenue jumps 53% to $46 billion. Earnings per share $1.01. Guidance is going to be watched very closely. New Blackwell chips, data center sales, heavy AI spending. What are you looking for in Nvidia, Pete?
Well, when you look at the data center and the pivot that they made years ago when they went from the gaming chips over to the data center, over to AI, absolutely incredible. And they take the big chunk of it all. I mean, 88% of their sales are in that AI world now. So do I think it's still strong? Absolutely. Do I think the biggest players out there are continuing the orders? Absolutely. So we're going to still see Meta and Nvidia and all the rest, or not Nvidia, but all the rest. I think it's going to be a very, very strong quarter. Now, this is something that's building as we speak. So I think that, do they want to maybe couch a little bit of it? Maybe they will. But I think that the reality is this is something that is so strong right now, and the volumes are there. Expected to have $360 billion worth of chips taken out. That says a lot to me. And that's not just Nvidia, but Nvidia is the big part of that.
Yeah, no, certainly. And real quick, I just want to give our viewers, we just got durable goods crossing for the month of July, and it was actually better than expected. Month over month, down 2.8%, but the street was looking for a decline of 4%. If you strip out the transports, which might be really where the focus should be on this one, up 1.1%. The expectation was up 0.2%, and then core cap goods up 1.1%. The expectation was up 0.2%. This kind of coming on the heels of obviously the aircraft order jump that we got because of that trip to the Middle East that President Trump made, where we got all those big orders. But Pete, your reaction to those numbers?
Yeah, I think that we continue to be impressed by the numbers, right? I mean, the numbers that are coming out, I don't think there's been a whole lot of, numbers that have come out that have disappointed us so far. And I think that's something that, we got to hang our hat on that we've been able to navigate a very, very difficult time. And I think a lot of that has to do with what the president's been up to and all the moves that we have been making, absolutely going back to April, maybe even starting in March. I think that speaks volumes for where we are right now. It's not as bad as so many people have tried to feed us. But I think that the reality is that we are navigating through a very difficult time very well.
Pete Najarian, it's always great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.